What is it like being a Jamaican in South Africa? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com, and today I talk to Gladstone and Melissa, Jamaicans who are living in South Africa. Welcome, Gladstone, and welcome, Melissa. How are you?
We're well, doing very well. Thanks, Davia. Thanks for having us.
It's really a pleasure. Really a pleasure.
Great, great. So here is where we start. Which part of Jamaica you come from?
Well, Xavier, I am a country boy. I was born in Mountainside, St. Elizabeth, but I grew up in St. Mary for the most part, and I now live in Kingston, but I consider myself a guy from Islington, St. Mary.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in for a minute there. My father is from St. Mary. I never heard of it, Islington, okay, before. Do you know Sunside?
Certainly, Sunside is close to Port Maria, but Islington is one of the most popular district in St. Mary.
Okay, all right. I learned something new. And Melissa, which part of
Yes.
Jamaica are you from?
Me, I'm from under the clock, Xavier. Born in Kingston, grew up in Pembroke Hall, Kingston 20, and spent most of my life in Pembroke Hall. So I'm a Kingston girl.
All right. I lived in Pembroke Hall at one point in my life. Briefly.
Really?
There. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Right by the supermarket right there in Pembroke Hall. I think that was next near the supermarket in Pembroke
I
Hall.
wonder if it's near. I was on Covey Avenue, so I don't know if you were nearby there.
I don't even remember. I was so really small at that point in time, not remembering the avenues and so on. But Pembroke
I
Hall.
grew up there. I went to Pembroke Hall Primary. My mom was the principal at Pembroke Hall Primary for many years. She's actually here now visiting with us since in January. So we're happy to have her.
Well, Mom, if you're there, we're going to bring you in any minute. We just want
Mommy have to come and say hi at some point.
So, which high schools are you representing?
Well, Xavier, I said that I'm from Islington, St. Mary, but I went to Osemati High School in Spanish Town. You know, Osemati is a very special institution gifted to the government and people of Jamaica by the Cuban government and people. So it was a boarding institution at the time. I lived for 5 years at Osemati.
Wow.
And my work ethic was built at Osemati. The motto is Trabajando y estudiando para ser el hombre total. So working and study to be the total man.
Oh,
that's what we embrace at Osemati.
Well, I'm going to let everyone in a little secret. So I used to be afraid of the dentist. I would run away. My mother would take me in a dental office in Jamaica. In fact, Dr. Duncan, DK Duncan, was my dentist. And when my mother was an area officer for Jamal back then. And we went to a dentist. It was a beautiful, my wife knows the story. I can't say she was beautiful. A beautiful Cuban dentist at Jose Marti. And let me tell you, I was more than willing to get in the chair.
Yeah, motivation.
Oh, yes, definitely motivation. She was the one that took that scare out of me for going to the dentist. So I'm very familiar with Jose Marti. And
that's the first dental chair I went in as well when I was a student. Yeah.
I wonder if it's the same dentist.
Possibly, but it's certainly the same chair.
So, Melissa, which school you representing?
The one and only Immaculate Conception High School. ladies in white, since we're talking about mottos, we say ad astra per aspera, through difficulties to the stars or to excellence. And so I think, coming from Immaculate, that excellent agenda has always been there. And so it's a school that I love dearly and still think it's one of the best in Jamaica.
Big up, big up, big up.
Big up,
always at the top in terms of academics and
yes.
So, yes, definitely. So how did you all get to South Africa? And before you mention that, let me tell you, I'm so excited about this particular interview. South Africa has been fascinated by this country, since I lived in Jamaica. Mandela is one of my biggest heroes, So tell us how you got to South Africa.
Okay. Well, South Africa, it was actually work that brought us here. I worked with the United Nations and I was working with a UN office in Jamaica, applied for a job with the same office in South Africa, in the regional office. I got that job in November 2015, and that brought the whole family here to South Africa. But, an interesting thing I want to tell you, Xavier, in 2013, we had had our daughter who was about 3 months old, and I came to South Africa for a work meeting in Cape Town in 2013. It was about February 2013, and I just fell in love with this place. And when I went to my set at Gladstone, boy, this South Africa is fabulous. I want us to live there. And I remember coming back and even going online, looking at houses, houses for rent, houses for sale, just even researching where my office in South Africa was. I mean, at the time, I'd had no real dealings with the office here, but I was looking at, houses near to the office, looking at rent for months, just looking aimlessly at the time. And then 2 years later, the opportunity came, the Lord opened the door and here we were. But it's a place that, I fell in love with and decided that, listen, I'm going to live in South Africa. We're going to come to this place. So,
What, you go back home and you said to Gladstone, hey, I love this place. And what was his response?
He liked it. I was showing him pictures and telling him about all the things we did in Cape Town and, telling him how beautiful the place was. And, of course, he thought it was beautiful, but obviously, he wasn't with me on, yes, let's go there and live. Because, of course, we had our lives in Jamaica, everybody working at school and so on. So I don't think he really took it seriously. But really, I started looking for houses shortly thereafter. And then the opportunity came up and the rest is history.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the people there. I mean, what are they like? People would say Jamaicans are friendly. If them like you, them like you. If them don't like you, them not like you. What are they like?
No, it's interesting, Xavier. South Africa is a large country with a population of almost 60 million people. And it is made up of a diverse group of people. We have different tribes in South Africa. There is different regions with different people, different subculture. So it is really difficult to put a blanket statement on who are South Africans because they are different people. In fact, Nelson Mandela referred to it as the Rainbow Nation. So we have the people in our circle. We find them to be very kind people, and they are particularly appreciative of Jamaicans. And so we have a network of people who are kind, who are caring, but I can tell you, it is a very diverse group of individuals with multiple cultural practices.
Yeah, okay. And if I can, as Gladstone said, the country is known as the Rainbow Nation. So there are these different tribes, different cultures. So I'm sure, we would have heard about the Zulus. Growing up in Jamaica, you hear about the Zulu warrior. Yes. And so the Zulu is one of the largest groups here. And so different groups are associated with different behaviors. So the Zulus are known, or it is said that they are the more aggressive ones, right? Because we talk about Zulu warriors. Then you have the Xhosa people. And anybody who's watching who knows Xhosa will kill me because I didn't click. The Xhosas, they click when they speak, right? That's where Nelson Mandela comes from, Bishop Desmond Tutu. So you have the Xhosa people, and again, the Xhosa, my kids can do it, I can't do it.
Okay.
But
bring the kids. Come. Bring the kids in, because I want them in on this particular question. I want them in on this.
Come. This is Bradley.
How you doing, Bradley? So I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So you have to do the click, and the same question. You're at school. What are the students like? And when the students learn that you are Jamaican, what happens?
Well, usually when I meet anybody and I tell them that I'm Jamaican, I get typically the same questions, is it nice there in Jamaica? Is there a language? Can you teach me how to speak Jamaican? I hate that one all the time, And the people that I am around, people that I surround myself with, I would say they're very friendly and intelligent people that I would surround myself with. So yes, I would say the people here to me are very nice. Yeah.
All right. And are you teaching anybody patois?
No, I'm not keeping that secret to myself.
So your mom said you can pronounce the click. I didn't hear. What was the name of the people that you needed to pronounce with the click?
Well, I'm not sure if I get to that 100% either, but it's Xhosa people.
Yeah. Oh, him have it, man. It sounds like Well, listen, if you want to continue joining and answer questions, totally fine. If your camera shy and want to jump off, that's totally fine too. All right. So we talk about the people, and I know there's a diverse population there, and we know the history of South Africa. We don't need to go back through. There's a lot of information there. But where you are, what is the dominant people in terms of tribe? Is it Zulu? Is it the other? I don't want to try and reproduce the cluck or the clicks. Is it those other folks? Is there other tribes that are people that are in the region where you are? I figure you're probably in Cape Town.
No, in Johannesburg.
We're in Johannesburg.
Okay, you're in Johannesburg. Okay. Yeah. So is it, is there like a more of these people and more of this culture?
Okay. Well, Xavier, Johannesburg is the largest metro in South Africa.
Okay.
And therefore, what you find is people descend upon Johannesburg from various parts of South Africa. So in KwaZulu-Natal, where we have the Zulu people, we have a lot of them here. In fact, Zulu is probably the most spoken language in Johannesburg. People from the Eastern Cape, Xhosa people, they are here. We have people from Limpopo. So we have it's a melting pot, really.
Okay.
In Johannesburg.
Okay. Yeah. So Brad, you learning Zulu?
I tried. I really did try to learn Zulu, but I just wasn't really catching on to it. So I know a few things, but I failed to learn the language.
And I don't know how he's trying now, because it's one of the languages that is mandatory at school. so more than trying.
Don't get yourself in trouble, because your parents may turn around and say, you're there on video now, you learn your book.
Same way.
But Xavier, in addition to the South Africans here, you find that Johannesburg has a lot of people from other parts of the continent.
Yeah.
West Africans are here, and especially from the Southern African belt, SADC.
So
Zimbabwe, Malawi, Botswana, Zambia, Namibia.
Because South Africa is bordered, by so many of these countries, Zambia, Botswana, all these countries that we mentioned
Lesotho.
are bordering South Africa, Lesotho, Eswatini. So you can drive across the border into these various countries. And so you find a lot of persons from other countries, neighboring, but also across the continent, do come to South Africa.
So there's a large expat, I guess, community there.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
And don't forget the Europeans come here as well.
Right. Would you say part of it too is the opportunities that are there?
Certainly. People move towards, especially economic migrants, are people who move to places where there are opportunities for them to pursue. So, and South Africa is one such place. So people from across the continent, in fact, the truth be told, in Jamaica, Jamaicans move to North America quickly for economic opportunities.
Yeah.
But in Africa, people move towards South Africa. That's the reality.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I always tell people, when people ask about South Africa, and there's always some people when they talk about Africa, there is this imagery of wild animals running through the street, that stereotype. And I always tell them, if you come to South Africa, you don't miss anything about the US, because everything is here. It is so, in terms of development, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of technology, in terms of services, so even in terms of healthcare, a lot of persons, from across the continent, especially in this region, East and Southern Africa, will come to South Africa for medical care and treatment and so on, because all of these things, the technology, the healthcare, the services, one of the things that people love, they come here and shop. We have some of the biggest malls, and I'm talking about the Louis Vuittons and the high-end, the Burberry and these things. So really, really developed.
So, mommy have to show her face now, because we know when to take mommy go shopping. We know mommy gone shopping.
She's making her way.
I'm bringing the whole family into this discussion. So, mommy camera shy. She camera
Xavier,
shy. Yeah.
Xavier, the first open heart surgery is said to have been done in Cape Town. Okay. So when it comes on to medical frontier, South Africa is good at that.
Okay. Well, how are you doing, mommy?
I'm good.
How long was I want to know how long was the flight, and what was the journey to get to South Africa? You visiting?
Okay, from Jamaica to Atlanta.
Right.
And then from Atlanta to Johannesburg. From Atlanta to Jamaica was about 2 hours.
Right.
And from Atlanta to Johannesburg about 16 hours.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So them feed you, I know it's not the Air Jamaica breakfast and whatever, but them feed you and a nice little flight, comfortable?
Yes, it was comfortable, a whole lot of food. As a matter of fact, I slept most of the way.
Okay, so
I slept, I read, listened to music. It was good.
So you'd recommend sleeping to get into the time zone, right? Maybe Melissa or Gladstone mentioned do that so that when you jump into this time zone, you're fresh.
Yes. Because that can really throw you, because here in South Africa, we're 7 hours ahead of Jamaica, 6 hours, I think, ahead of your time, Xavier, in the US. But definitely that flight, when you sleep and you try and keep on the schedule of this. So when you come to Johannesburg, you try and stay awake so that you sleep at night, so that your body adjusts to the time difference.
Well, Xavier, the travel time will never be sufficient to get you adjusted to the time. The jet lag will certainly take a couple of days. In fact, sometimes I think my mother-in-law is still up late hours talking to our fans in Jamaica. So it's yet to fully adjust after 2 months.
Well, good, mommy. And so they were talking about the shopping. So tell me a little bit about the shopping. What the pricing look like, mommy? Because we know you looking at it. So the G dollars and the I don't know what is the currency. I forgot the currency of the South Africans.
It's the rand.
Rand. The rand.
Yes.
It's about 15 to 1 US.
So the pricing, mommy, when them take you to these big malls, what the pricing look like? Everything look reasonable to you?
Yes, most times the food, the clothes and things, reasonable, pretty reasonable. I usually try to compare,
Right.
with the Jamaican and then convert it to US to see if I'm going overboard.
So now I know the moms are usually the old school, and I putting in old school, mommy, but I still have to kind of put you partially there. Go to the market and get the fruits and so on. So is there a market there that take you to?
No, we just go to the supermarket and you get everything there. Oh yes, we went to the Nigerian market where we got
a Nigerian market in South Africa. Why is it called a Nigerian market if it's in South Africa?
because as I said, there are Nigerians here, there are West Africans here, and they're shipping their produce because they have their own cuisine, so they need their own raw materials. So it's not difficult to find Congolese market as well, because there are a lot of people from the DRC and they have their own particular cuisine. So you'll find the Congolese people with their own markets.
And the other thing to say with the Niger or the West African market is, because our cuisine, Jamaican cuisine, is closer. We derive from West African cuisine, and so some of the things that we like to eat, South Africans don't necessarily eat. So, for example, yam. South Africans don't eat yam. We don't find yam here, so we have to get the yam from the Nigerian market. White yam.
White yam.
Right.
I visited Nigeria, and yes, white yam is eaten with practically everything. So
it's white yam, plantain. So those are the kind of things we would go to that market, because we, really find South Africans eating those things percent. So that's where we get a lot of our fixes here, from the West African market.
All right. So I'm going to talk about food. Everybody can jump in if you choose to. What is a South African dish that you would say you like? I see mommy stepping out, so mommy take care. I see mommy stepping away.
I don't know much about the South African. I just eat what I get.
Well, listen. South African cuisine is interesting. It's not consistent with ours. The South Africans, they eat a lot of corn, maize meal. Okay, that's the staple. Like how we focus a lot on rice and flour.
Right.
In Jamaica, the South Africans, they focus a lot on maize meal. They call it pap. Pretty much in Jamaica, what we would call tonka meal. But save that the difference is in South Africa, the pap is very bland. And like in Jamaica, we're putting spices, coconut juice, and that kind of thing. The pap takes the flavor of whatsoever stew that you're going to consume it with. So, and South Africans eat a lot of meat. Beef and lamb constitute a big part of their cuisine. So they would do stews, and like Jamaica as well, the intestines happen to be a big thing in a lot of the culture.
Bradley, the name tribe, what they call tribe again? It's Mahodu. So they eat a lot of tribe, the Mahodu with the pap. They like to what they call braai. Braai is where it's almost like what we would call jerk. So they love talking about let's have a braai. So it's almost like a barbecue. And you go to a braai, you eat a lot of meat, you eat pap, you eat, one of the things that I like is something that they call chakalaka, which is like vegetables, you know, tomato sauce, and beans,
and carrot.
and carrots and so on. What else? What other food we like?
Chakalaka. Wow,
Chakalaka.
wow, close to chaka chaka.
Chaka chaka is untidiness, no so?
Yeah. I know chakalaka. But Bradley, what do the teenagers, you know, is it more Western food or, you know, what do teenagers go for?
Well, usually I would actually say more of like a fast food, I would say. So like, you know, McDonald's, people love McDonald's.
You see, Bradley's wasting his time. He's not enjoying real food.
You know, I mean, there's also other things like, you know, braais. We also do like to enjoy braais. We'll have braais from time to time. But, you know, like if you need something quick, which is usually the case, you know, you order your McDonald's, Nando's, people like Nando's here, you know.
Yeah, right. Nando's is like island grill type of setup with Portuguese chicken. So it's a popular fast food place. Yeah, but I mean, there's so many options here, Xavier, in terms of not only South African food, but all sorts of cuisine. Because as I said, you have so many cultures coming here as a melting pot. So you can get Mozambican food, you can get, you know, food from, you know, Lesotho, you can get food from Zimbabwe, and you know, so there's you have access to all sorts of food here, French type of food, Italian. So it really is, it's very diverse. So anything, I think, any kind of food that you want, you can access it. There's lots of African restaurants, Ethiopian, Nigerian, it's all here.
So
one of the interesting things.
Go ahead, Mom. Yes.
Yeah, Zim and she use the pumpkin leaf.
Yeah.
And stew it like callaloo.
Yeah.
And it tastes good. And I'm saying, look at, you know, we throw away these things in Jamaica.
Right.
But they steam it and it's good.
Well,
more refined than the callaloo.
Nice.
Well, you know, Xavier, I am a gardener by heart. You know, it's my pastime. So I plant quite a bit of a couple of pumpkin in my yard, and I used to depend on the fruit of the pumpkin, but I now start to realize that the leaf is even more valuable than the fruit itself. Pumpkin leaf is a very popular, what we call spinach.
Wow.
People
I gotta tell my wife this one because she's a pescatarian, mainly she eats fish, seafood. But she eats mainly a lot of veggie. I gotta tell her this one because this is very interesting interesting.
and the pumpkin leaf, normally the younger leaves are the ones that you're going to consume. Once they're getting whole, you can't use them, but the young leaves, you get them, even the flower, because the pumpkin, there are some of the flower that goes into fruit, and there are the other ones that do not go into fruit. So those ones are largely used in the vegetable dish. You chop up those leaves and the flower, and you make a nice vegetable. It's very nice, Xavier. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy.
When I come there, Gladstone, you're making me some of that. We have to try that when I come there. So
definitely.
I will switch up a little bit because, you know, I don't want Bradley just hanging there and kind of, I know it is, teenager may get a little bored with us just carrying on. So Bradley, this is where you come in, and this is probably where your question is, your cameo appearance here. So talk to me about music. What's the dominant music that you hear, you know, your age group listening there? Do you hear any reggae also?
Well, not really reggae. I would say one of the most dominant music here, at least among my age group, is a music called Amapiano, which is like, you know, it's a kind of Afrobeat, you know, it's lively songs that will get people dancing, you know, at all the little parties and things, then we'll never make them go past without playing an amapiano song. So I would say amapiano and American music sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the things, Xavier, the music, I think that's maybe one of the similarities between South Africans and Jamaicans, at least. The love for music and the dancing. I mean, they really love music and they really dance. I think across Africa, when you see the movements and the dancing and how the bodies work, I think that is one of the common things. But definitely the music, I think, is one of the things that brings South Africans together, because I think they share a common love for music and for dance.
Okay. In fact, Xavier, just recently, the Grammy Awards, Black Coffee, a very popular South African musician, was awarded. And his music largely is the house music, dance music. And he has done himself so well and has done South Africa proud by winning a Grammy award recently.
Nice.
So house music is popular, and I can't deny reggae. Bradley is not listening to reggae music, but reggae is
Bradley,
also.
give you a look. Bradley, giving you a look. No, go so.
Yeah, reggae music is also played on the airwaves here quite a lot, because if you think about our pioneer reggae, like reggae artists like Peter Tosh and Bob Marley, those people are idols here in South Africa. During the revolution, during that movement, the reggae music played a pivotal role.
Yes.
Bob Marley was here in Southern Africa during the 80s when that set of independent movement was going on. Zimbabwe, one main place. So the music is key. And in fact, there was one time when Bob Marley and Peter Tosh, those music were banned during the apartheid regime. Yeah. So it was like underground music, but revolutionary music that played a pivotal role in that movement.
Yeah. So Xavier, in fact, when you asked the question earlier about, when people hear you're Jamaicans and so on, and what's the reaction? People talk about Bob Marley, of course, Bob Marley, Usain Bolt, and so on. But, I always say when people talk about Bob Marley, it's not only as a great, reggae, the greatest reggae musician and artist. It runs so deep because of the symbolism, as Gladstone was explaining, because of how symbolic the music was to the liberation struggle. So when you speak to some people, especially people from Zimbabwe and so on, and when they tell you about, when they hear you're Jamaican and they say Bob Marley go deep for them. It's not just for entertainment value. It really, the music really meant something and means something to them because it was struggle music. So I tell people that, here on the continent, I find that the appreciation that people have for Bob Marley is so much deeper than the one that we have. I have a group of friends, we're on WhatsApp. They're from countries all across the continent. And whenever it's Bob Marley's birthday and even the anniversary of his death, WhatsApping on the group, Melissa, what we're doing to commemorate the great Bob Marley, because it means so much to them. And these are friends from West Africa, from East and Southern Africa. But Bob Marley and the music holds so much significance for them in terms of the liberation and the struggle. So it really, I think even more significant for us than we hold Bob Marley in Jamaica.
So by the time this is published, this is I've done an interview with Zimbabwe, and I mentioned this with a gentleman in Zimbabwe, and I can tell you this: I have a friend from Zimbabwe, and he explained this to me years ago, and I got it. He said, "Listen, you all don't know what you have. You all don't know." He said, "Our Sunday music, our music of liberation was Peter Tosh, Burning Spear, Bob Marley. That was our music. That's what we listened to. That's what uplifted us." And it blew me away when he started to explain that Bob Marley is just not a musician to us. Peter Tosh is not just a musician to us. Burning Spear is just a musician to us. Sorry, what was that? Gladstone?
I'm saying they see Bob as a philosopher.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So it goes deeper than that. So
Yeah,
Bradley,
absolutely.
I won't let you hang on there. If we're good. If you want to jump back in at any point, feel free to jump back in. But thank you. I know we'll drag you in. So yeah, it is so good to hear that. And as I said, it blew me away having that conversation with my friend from Zimbabwe and hearing it from others, how powerful it was, you know. So I want to move on to just kind of the landscape and the area and so on. I have friends from South Africa and I hear about these mountains that change color, you know, with this, you know, you have to tell me where that, you know. So tell us about, you know, if there is a place you would say, Xavier, if you come to South Africa, you have to visit this particular place. It's amazing. What would that be for each of you?
For me, definitely Cape Town. As I mentioned, that is where you know, I came here first and fell in love with the country. But also Cape Town reminds me more of the Caribbean in terms of the topography. So you see the mountains, you see the ocean. However, in Cape Town, what you're getting, and in much of South Africa where you have access to the ocean, it's the Atlantic Ocean. So it's cold and the water is not nice, it's cold and rough. So it's not water that you're going to swim in. So that is one of the sad things. But you know, as Jamaicans and being used to the sea, you just want to you want to be close to the sea. But you know, I mean, it's water that you can sort of wade in. My little daughter, she hasn't come on, but she will go in the water. It is freezing, but she's so excited to be in water. And according to her at the beach, she's there enjoying herself. But the water is cold and rough. But I would say Cape Town is, you know, it's a fabulous place. There's a lot of attractions there. People will talk about Table Mountain. So that is one, you know, one nice place. You know, the mountain is the top is flat like a table. And so, you take a cable car, you go up and you have a view of the city. There in Cape Town, there is also Robben Island, which is where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned, you know, for many years. You take a ferry and you go to Robben Island. There is a place called, Gladstone can talk about the wine. You know, South Africa is wine country. So Cape Town is where you find all of these wine farms. So people who are wine enthusiasts, you know, can go and see how, you know, wine is made. You do your wine tasting and you pair it with these different things.
Gladstone, look like that is. I see eyes light up there for a minute. And I'm a wine drinker. My wife is.
I certainly will have a few glass of red wine. You know, South Africa produced a lot of varying grape varieties. In fact, the Pinotage is one variety of wine that is only done here in South Africa. So there is Merlot, Cab Sav. Me, I'm a red wine drinker, so I do have one or two glasses. I try not to go overboard, but I enjoy the wine tours and that kind of thing in South Africa. In fact, one of the things that I like most though is the wildlife. In South Africa, there are millions of hectares of what we call game farm. There is the Kruger Park, which is the largest one, but there are a lot of other smaller private game farm. It's not unusual for a private game farmer to have 10,000 hectares for you to come, go and drive and try, and especially the big five, they are popular. The lion, elephant, leopard, buffalo, and the rhino.
But Xavier, I have to tell you, the safari and game farm, you know, we came, for me, I said we came, I've been there, done that. I'm not very excited about safaris and game drives because I said, these are wild animals. And while we are fascinated with them, I said, you cannot predict the behavior. I remember
Yes.
when we just came here, we went to one of the there's a place called Lion Park. It's a tourist sort of destination, but you go on a safari through a huge game park. But you're in a vehicle that is grilled, it's protected, so it's grilled right around. And I remember we were going, our daughter was probably 4 or 5 at the time, and we were there. I think the vehicle was parked because we were watching the lions and so on. And there was a lion in the distance, and I think my daughter stood up in the van to do something. And by the time you look, the lion was against the vehicle with the paws on. And I think everybody in the vehicle was traumatized. So I grabbed her so quickly. So I remember the driver of the bus said, "Oh, mommy, if we were out in the wild, you would have been too late." And I said, for me, that experience was so traumatic because that lion in a split second was against the vehicle with the paws ready to pounce. So if that grill wasn't separating us, we would have been in trouble. So for me, after that experience, I said, let me tell you, I've been there, I've been on the game drive, I've done that, and I bought the t-shirt. That's it for me.
Hey, Xavier, in
Yeah.
fact, that same place we went, I was told a story the same day that there was a North American tourist, because we were in a big vehicle protected, but there are some persons who have self-drive. You can drive your own vehicle through to view the animals. And there was one American tourist that came and refused to abide by the rules to stay in the vehicle. And she came out. And that was it.
Yeah.
A lion finished her.
Wow.
So these are we must always remember these are animals.
Right.
My grandfather would say, once the animals sleep out a door, you have to be careful.
Exactly. And we don't even we never used to let even animals, even the more mild animals, even the cat or the dog. We back in my day, they never slept indoors either.
Exactly.
No, in fact, these I've seen people who raise these animals from the small and believe that they are their friends, but they still have that animal instinct.
You have people raising them there in South Africa, you say?
Yeah, man. Like for example, there are people who interested in wildlife. So, for example, let's say there is an orphan lion cub,
Right.
and somebody would protect that little cub and raise it, believing that when it become a big lion, it will still be its friend. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that.
No.
Because I've seen lion guys going to the encagement, believing that because I've been with this lion for the past 8 years, it knows me and it's my friend, and it pull it. So it's a dangerous thing. Yeah. These animals are still wild animals, and you have to be careful.
Exactly. Having said that, safaris I must do. When you come, you must do safaris, just to experience the big five, the elephants,
But we're staying in the cage.
Stay in the vehicle. Stay in the vehicle.
Follow the advice and stay.
So listen, guys, you provided such. I mean, this is just, you don't know. I just love this information. As I said, South Africa is one of the countries I've always been fascinated with. Now, customs. Is there any customs that you have come up on that you say, man, this is interesting. I really love this particular custom, the way people, maybe it's these people do it this way, since there are many people, as you said, the Zulu and the other tribes and so forth, and these people do it this way. Customs.
Well, Xavier, the one that I'm going to talk about is the one marriage. The Labola is an important aspect of marriage across all tribes in South Africa. you cannot just marry for free.
Okay, so back up a little bit now. You have to explain what the labola is.
Labola is a bride price.
Okay.
Labola is a bride price, which whenever you, as a young man, if you identify a young lady that you want to get wed with, the tradition is that you have to meet with the family. You have to deploy a negotiating team to go and negotiate the price.
A negotiating team?
Oh, it's a big thing. Now listen, you have to have a team of elders, because the family of the bride, they are not going to talk to any small boy. You have to send your uncles, senior men, and they will meet with that side of the family and they'll negotiate. And there's a day when you go and you pay. There is also what you call so most of them, they have what you call, you have to exchange gifts.
Okay.
But the bride price, and it is measured oftentimes in terms of cows. So if you, like my wife now, I didn't pay any bride price in Jamaica. But if I try to marry her in South Africa, a woman of her quality,
you couldn't afford her.
Oh,
I probably couldn't make it, because the amount of cows that I would require to pay to our parents, I couldn't afford it. So it is extremely important, and there's no way you're gonna escape.
So can you include a few goats in there, or it have to be cow?
Well, listen, probably the uncles might want something. You might escape with a few sheep and that kind of thing. But the actual bride price is measured in terms of cows. And you know, today it is a modern the modern approach is they will quote in terms of cows, but then a lot of people accept cash. But the quote is in cows. Okay. And then you move from what a cow value so that you can pay in cash. But the real traditional people, you have to carry a cow. You must bring the cow.
And then they have in some the cultures, you don't pay the full price one time as well. You pay quite a bit, but then you must still owe some of the money. So the family doesn't pay everything, so that you still owe over time, because you don't want to say so a part
you can't finish. You can't finish pay.
Yes.
So there's an installment.
No. So for example, you can pay some, but a lot of the cultures, you're still indebted to them.
Okay.
So if you are trying to pay it off, they think that you're trying to sever ties with the family.
See.
You still owe something.
Okay.
So you
it's
keep
almost
paying.
like a connection. It almost keeps a connection going with that family or with that community. You know.
No, because by and large, people will tell you, the South Africans will tell you that when you're not paying money, what we are doing, we're establishing a relationship with the two families.
Okay.
That's what it is all about. So, but it is an important thing and it is official. I must say that in South Africa, polygamy is a serious element of their society. Of the culture, you can have more than one wives. Right. Me, I have only one. And I will stick with that. But in South Africa, you can take another wife if you so desire.
Right.
And
so and then your pocket is you know, you're I don't know. I was gonna ask, after giving away all those cows, how, you know, that wedding is part of the deal. The family you give the cow to, right? Because you know, daughters pay for the, you know, I have three daughters. So hey, I have one that's married already. So is that the same type of culture there? You give the cows to the family with the daughter, and the family with the daughter pays for the wedding?
You know, I think it varies from the different groupings, but by and large, it's a family thing. In fact, in some cases, it's a community thing. So the wedding is normally organized by the family. Normally one of the cow is killed and consumed. Sorry.
Yeah.
And consumed as part of the celebration.
Okay, nice.
Because the notion is, Xavier, with that, even that exchange of the bride price, the lobola, and the families negotiating, the notion is that, when two people coming together, it's not just the two people, it's the families coming together, and therefore you're connecting the families. In fact, some people will tell us that, even in that marriage, if there was something going wrong in the marriage, it's not me and Gladstone, it's the uncle will go to the other person's family, and they exchange. So the families, it's the families that are married and that are interconnected, and not just the two people. I think over time, some of those things have evolved a little bit more and so on, and may not be as steeped in those traditions, but that is that's the sentiment, and that was the initial thinking.
Powerful tradition. I had a friend, a Pakistani friend, that said to me, everyone is invited to the wedding, and everyone that comes to the wedding is a part of my marriage. So any one of them could, basically him say, any one of them could drape him up and say, treat her all right, because you came to my wedding and you're a part of my wedding. And it
was a witness.
Same tradition.
Yes, definitely.
And there's one other thing that I admire as well, is the whole issue of going to initiation school. Because as a young man, when you come of age, the elders will take you into the mountain. There is a certain amount of ritual. They teach you how to be a man, and that is one very important aspect. In some cases, it involves circumcision, but it's a rite of passage, and it is a very important tradition that is still practiced widely in South Africa.
But in some in specific tribes, though. So, for example, that particular one, I know the Xhosa people practice that. Traditionally,
the Zulus they do as well.
The Zulus as well.
Okay.
So it's not across all the tribes, but it is quite a bit among some of them.
So, we talked about all these different people, tribes, and so forth, and languages is probably a big part of this. Where you are, again, I don't want to assume, I figure since it's more metropolitan, more the city, English is probably dominant. But are they preserving the other languages? Is there a push in South Africa to preserve certain languages and not lose them?
Well, the 11 languages are considered the official languages of South Africa. So there are 11 official. So it's Zulu, Xhosa, Afrikaans, English is one of the languages. There is Pedi, there is Venda. So there are 11 official languages. And so, and so they're spoken across the country by different people. Zulu is the most widely spoken one, of course. I think Xhosa next, and then I think between Afrikaans and then English. But there are 11 official languages in the country. So they're spoken depending on the tribes and where people live and so on. But Zulu is the most commonly spoken.
So Xavier, you could be listening to the radio and somebody's talking in English and you are following the conversation and they just switch. Just like that. Because to another language, and that is allowed. So the 11 languages, they use them interchangeably at all times. Yeah. In fact, I remember I was watching TV and there was one member of parliament older lady, and she was complaining in her language that another parliamentarian was talking in his language that she doesn't understand, but she was using her own to complain that the other guy.
It's like when we, if our kids do something. You know, yeah, we'll talk, you know, the standard English, but then we'll go right in our Jamaican and just say,
Indeed.
we switch
Indeed,
right
exactly.
away into our language. So
Yeah.
It's nice. It's interesting because even, you know, the church that we attend, it's a Methodist church, but they sing, you know, the songs, the hymns, some of the hymns that we even sing in Jamaica, you know, in church, the same hymns, but they'll sing it in the language of choice, and then they will switch it up. So sometimes they will sing this in Zulu, another time they will sing it in Xhosa. You know, sometimes they'll read the scripture in Xhosa, in some, you know, so it's interesting. So you're in a service, sometimes the preacher will speak in English, and then they'll speak, you know, they'll read a scripture in a language, you sing a song in a different language. So it really, it's interesting. I mean, we appreciate the diversity.
Yeah, it's real diversity.
That's great. So what would you say, moving from Jamaica to South Africa, was the biggest adjustment you had to make?
In terms of adjustment, I think maybe one of the things, honestly, it wasn't a significant adjustment, but I think here in Johannesburg, you know, the houses, high walls and security fences and electric fences. So you don't even know your neighbor, right? So even, and, you know, of course, there are security issues here as there are, you know, in Jamaica and other countries across the world. So in Johannesburg, what you will observe is that the walls are high. So you can't see it over in people's houses most of the time. And as I said, you really, most often, you don't even know your neighbors. You don't see them, you know, as they come in and come out. Whereas, you know, in Jamaica, you know who is next door. You're walking on the street, you're seeing people. So that was one of the things I think was very strange for us. Which is why even when you compare Johannesburg with Cape Town is not like that. Cape Town, as I mentioned, has a more Caribbean vibe and feel. So you don't see the high walls, you don't get the electric fences in the same way. So I think that was one thing for me that was a little bit of an adjustment.
Well, to be very honest with you, Xavier, when I first came to South Africa, I always measure Africa by Nigeria, because Nigeria is the most populous African countries. When I'm in Jamaica and when I studied in America, I met a lot of Nigerians. So interestingly, Nigeria and Jamaica is along the same belt on the equator. But I never had any idea that there was a temperate climate in South Africa. So it gets cold here, very cold. But interestingly, the season is reversed, because this is in the southern hemisphere. So when it is winter in New York, for example, it is summer here. And when it is summer here, it's winter in New York. So if you're afraid of cold, don't come to South Africa in June and July.
And August.
That is winter.
That is good information to know.
Yes.
Very good.
Don't come in those months. Come between
November,
November, December, January.
That is when it is summertime.
Because in winter, as Gladstone was saying, it gets cold to the point of, I'm talking about below zero weather. So you will get -1, -2. So people are always shocked that it gets that cold here.
I didn't know it gets that cold.
Yeah, man, proper cold, where you have to have your heavy winter coat, fireplace, heaters. You know, you have to have electric blankets in the bed, proper cold. Yeah. And then in the mountains, there's a set of mountains here in the Drakensberg Mountains. It snows sometimes during winter. That's how cold.
I didn't know that. Good information. Cold. So my visit won't be the summer. It will be US or North America winter.
In fact, Xavier, I have a Jamaican friend, a retired surgeon. Spent most of his practicing years in Minnesota. And what he has done, he has a son here with grandchildren. So he bought a place here in Johannesburg. So when it is winter in Minnesota, he just finds his way to South Africa. And once it starts to get cold, like we had our our send-off dinner with him yesterday because next week he's leaving.
It's getting cold. It's getting cold.
It's getting cold.
Get cold now.
So next week he's on his way to Minnesota.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So, any words of advice to a Jamaican or someone who's thinking of moving to South Africa?
What would you say now? I mean, I think South Africa, it's so diverse. So really you have to come with an open mind in terms of, because there's so many experiences, there's so many opportunities. So you have to come with an open mind and be willing to learn, to appreciate diversity and differences across cultures. Because, as we said earlier, we found people who have been very warm and friendly, but it's not that place where you go like Jamaica, where you say, okay, Jamaicans are generally warm and friendly. So you will find variations in terms of, how people will engage with you and that sort of thing. So I would say come with an open mind, acknowledging and understanding that there is diversity, and be willing to learn and understand the people. I think it's important as well, Xavier, you mentioned earlier the issue of apartheid. And while we haven't gone into it, it's an important part of South Africa's history and legacy, and it has shaped what we see as South Africa today. And so it's important as well to understand that history, so you can understand why things are the way they are at present, why things are unfolding in the way that they're unfolding, why there's certain things that exist in current day South Africa. So it's important to understand that history of apartheid and how it has impacted on people's development, and even, the issues of inequality that we have here in South Africa that, as I mentioned, it's a fabulous country, huge development, wonderful infrastructure, but the issue of inequality is something that is so entrenched and so, it's so unfortunate, it's so steep, and it is as a result largely because of that apartheid history and that, racial segregation. And so, even in modern day South Africa, it translates into the fact that the resources are owned by very few people, the land, the wealth, the income, access to services and so on. So that inequality is still very stark, and so we just hope that over time, of course, the apartheid was decades of being entrenched. And so it will take a while, to break out of some of those systems. So we just pray that, with some of the policies that the government has in place, with some of the political parties that are agitating for change, some of these groups that are pushing for change and for, policies to redistribute some of the wealth and the income and so on. We just hope that over time, those will translate into, closing that gap, because I think that is one of the things that is most, I think that's one of the things that we find most disturbing.
Melissa have said it to a great extent, but the issue, South Africa is one of the most inequitable society, I must admit. In fact, I'm not making up this. The Lorenzo curve, for the students of economics, they'll tell you that the Lorenzo curve in South Africa, it is very steep. And that is what measures in inequality in a society. So you can live in suburbs where you have very sophisticated infrastructure. The lanes, the World Cup was here in 2010, and there is a massive highway construction program in Johannesburg here where you'll see 6 lanes, 8 lanes highways, but there are still persons who don't have any road to drive to where they live. So you have to, if you're coming here, you have to understand that you will see that. And especially as an African in the diaspora, you sometimes some of the things you see is not what you would have expected. So, there are massive tracts of lands, but these lands oftentimes are being held by few. There is what we call the BEE, which is the Black Economic Empowerment Program, which has been gazetted for for quite some time by the government. And they are working on that in terms of looking at tying that into the procurement system for corporate entities. And it is the hope that those issues will bring things down. It will never fix it fully,
Right.
but it is work in progress.
Well, one of the things I've always admired about South Africa is, facing the past. And I think that truth and reconciliation that they had, the commission and so on, was just one of the great things. If you don't address the past, it's going to be difficult to address the future. And I think countries, again, that's my opinion, a lot of countries will struggle with, and I'm not saying South Africa is perfect. It didn't fix everything. It didn't fix, but it brought it to light. And I think until some countries face the truth, reconciliation is going to be a struggle. As it probably is there, but at least, again, you faced it and you did it. I'm going to lighten things up. We listen, this was just a great conversation. I knew it was going to be a long and great conversation because, as I said, fascinating country, and you guys have so much information. So winding it down, you land in Jamaica. What is that first thing you're doing when you get off the plane?
Me, I must have patty. And we were fortunate, Xavier. We were actually home in Jamaica in January. So we, at least recently, we got home. It took us a little while because of they had the travel ban on South Africa and other Southern African countries because of the Omicron variant. But at least we got home to Jamaica. So we spent maybe about 2 or so weeks. And of course, the patty, had to have patty. Had to have true juice, June plum, sorrel. What was the other one? So even for the whole week, I don't think I had any water, just juice. Then we had bun and cheese. So patty, bun and cheese, and June plum juice. Those are my must-haves.
Johannesburg is in a mountain, so we don't have any ocean close by. So whenever I get to Jamaica, I always want to get close to the seaside where I can get a proper steamed fish.
All right. So if you're in Kingston, you're stopping right there at Port Royal. If you're flying to Kingston and you're getting your steamed fish right there.
No, and coconut water out of the coconut.
Yes.
So there's no one has tried to open a Jamaican restaurant there.
We've seen there was one that we saw. I think it started and it didn't seem to do so well. There's one that not Jamaican. There's one that is a Brian Laura type of restaurant, a little bit more Caribbean. That is there also, but no hardcore Jamaican restaurants. I was saying, I think definitely for those who are more entrepreneurial inclined, I think definitely there would be some opportunities for that. Because even in terms of our supplies and stuff, when we go home, as I said, we were just home in January, and thank God it's 4 of us that travel, so we have 2 suitcases each. When we come back, Xavier, it's like a wholesale. when we the things
the Jamaican friends there, I am sure that you take 5 tin and this person get one tin for the special occasion. For the special occasion, you pull it out, maybe independence celebration.
Exactly. I have to quote them one, 1 aki per month because it has to last until somebody coming.
Well, I tell you a secret. And there's some folks in Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, and some other places that bring back the seeds and trying to grow it. So you never know. So sorry, go ahead, Gladstone.
In Southern, I'm a student of agriculture, Xavier.
Right.
I'm an agricultural economist by training.
Okay.
But I can tell you that in this climate, the ackee tree won't make it.
Mm.
You have to move it. You have to move it further west.
Well,
So I know that in Ethiopia, I have
right.
a friend who took black mango seed, breadfruit, and they happen to work in Ethiopia.
Okay.
But that is that is less of a temperate climate, because
I see.
you know I plant a banana tree in
Mhm.
my front garden, and I watch it grow. I know that the banana tree within a 9-month period should start bear, but the banana tree is going so slow, and when the winter comes, it's gonna decimate it, and it will have to start growing again.
I see.
So where we are, look, I know where we are, it's not going to work. But if you go further north
Right.
in South Africa, it might work, because there's banana grow in the other province that
Okay.
is further north, closer to Zimbabwe.
I see.
But in South Africa, the ackee
No.
tree now to make it.
All right. All right. So, folks, you know, if you're visiting Gladstone and Melissa, you know, you have to. Them not going to give you any advice. They're not going to show you any hospitality unless you bring some ackee, you bring some patties, you bring I don't know what else, but
Bun
bring
and
some
cheese.
bun and cheese. Okay.
Yeah.
So listen, again, thank you for all the great information. Here is how I typically end. Can you teach me how to say goodbye in the most informal way? How they do it in South Africa? You might need Bradley for this one. I don't know.
Bradley can't go out in business now, but if there is in Zulu, they say salagahle. And he'll probably chastise me that I didn't pronounce it right, but salagahle.
Salagatle.
Salagahle. Yes.
Salagatle.
Salagatle.
Salagahle. Thank you so much, Xavier. It was a pleasure.
It's a pleasure, man.
Awesome. Show us some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.